Hi there, I'm Misum777. I'm that type of warlock that spends a lot of time exploring and experimenting with the sandbox, so I would like to say a thing or two about the upcoming changes to the sandbox, specifically within the special ammo. In case you've been living under a rock, special ammo is getting a huge nerf. Effectively, 50% of the special ammo that you have right now, get rid of it, because you're not going to be able to use scavengers within PvP. Basically, you're not going to be able to pick up more than one shot per brick of special ammo, even if you have single or even double scavengers equipped. This obviously doesn't apply to all special weapons. Bungie has made it clear that obviously things like trace rifles or maybe something like the Forerunner, which is a special weapon, or the Ariana's Vow will still obey the rules of enough to get a singular kill. I like to keep the discussion open, honest, but respectful, so please in the comment section do not be nasty to one another. The better we can do at articulating our positions helps everybody involved. So of course the first thing you need whenever you're experimenting with something is data. So as a test live on stream, I decided to unequip my scavengers on a build that really heavily relies on shotguns for its kills. It's an aggressive build using Blink, Astrocyte, Verse on Void Warlock with my Mida. The idea is that I'm able to get in and out of places quickly and easily, as you can see plenty of these little clips as you're seeing here. I'm able to blink in and out of situations that make it awesome for getting in and on top of somebody for an easy shotgun kill, and if I need to flex back into longer range or just, kind of pad out some damage, the Mida is there for me. The thing that I noticed immediately when I went into the game is that my leniency on what engagements I took was severely cut back. This build is meant to be flexible. This build is meant to allow me to take basically any situation with at least some relative ease. I've got mid-range options with my grenades or my melees. Of course, I can try to close the distance with my blinks. And for close range, I've got shotguns, and long range, I've got my Mida. I found myself leaning much heavier on my Mida multi-tool for kills, but I was still able to, for the most part, keep at least one round in my shotgun at all times. I think that what you're going to see is obviously the people who main a special weapon as if it were a primary weapon, those are basically going to vanish, and I think you're going to see a lot more people start to switch over to double primary loadouts in order to counter these people, because it'll be even less of an option when they're not able to get 2 kills worth of ammo inside of their weapon when they're roaming from place to place and just picking up ammo as normal. But back to the game, I spent almost 75% of the time on my primary and used my shotgun more as a reactive tool. The build lost a lot of its flexibility and forced me to play my primary, which was much more long range and defensive, yet I still had some options for just kind of generally getting around the map with my build being fast. I think what you might start seeing is builds focusing much harder on a specific idea. You'll start seeing builds that forego something like a hand cannon in lieu of something like an SMG with a shotgun so that they can still be aggressive. I could be completely wrong. One of the ideas that I've seen tossed around is that Destiny might slow down significantly with people taking the fastest TTK weapons at the longest range, i.e. pulse rifles or even something like long range hand cannons. But to that, we're seeing a pretty significant dip in things like fusion rifles as well as sniper rifles, which play heavily into the defensive options or offensive options for sniper rifles, ironically, for those more backline heavy playstyles. People are going to be forced to make a decision. Do you want to be more aggressive and double down on what you're trying to do, or less aggressive and having to play with your primary more? But there's more ways to play around with your special weapon. I was curious, what about these special ammo replacements? I decided to play a build which uses the Fighting Lion, which again, in case you're living under a rock, is a primary ammo grenade launcher, which actually is getting buffed next season. The Fighting Lion is impossible to get a one-shot kill unless some strange circumstances occur, and I was backing this up with the shotgun, again, unequipping the scavenger mod. I really didn't notice any difference with this, and I would be willing to bet if you were using the Fighting Lion as sort of a replacement grenade launcher secondary, you're not going to notice any major difference outside of maybe a little less damage on target per each shot. This build ended up playing fine and I enjoyed it quite a bit, and these are the types of builds I am really hoping for. My biggest fear coming into this next season with all of these changes that are coming through is that build crafting and creation is going to be pulled back significantly, as we're not going to have as much freedom in what we end up taking. For example, whenever you see something like a 140 shotgun, I wouldn't be surprised if those vanish from the face of the earth. When you're put into a situation where every single shot matters, you're not going to try to play around with some of these less optimal choices because you're not going to have as much room to kind of get away with it. When every single shot matters, you're going to go for the highest damage with the most consistency. High impact shotguns get even more dominant, and high aim assist snipers rise even further because those are the most consistent, highest damage options. Things like rapid fire snipers are basically going to vanish. I wouldn't be surprised if rapid fire shotguns also vanish from existence as well. I would be willing to bet we're going to see more grenade launchers too. Grenade launchers only need one shot to really set up what they're trying to do, so grenade launcher quick swapping into a primary weapon might get a slight comeback. But dollars to donuts, the real top dog I think we're going to see is bows and other quick swap type loadouts like them. Bows right now are sitting in such a strange spot. If you ask some of the more sweaty type players, the more competitively focused players, they will complain at you about bows for the most part. It's a primary ammo sniper rifle that can't one-shot headshot most of the time. But with the primary counters to bow swap combos being like shotguns and fusion rifles being pulled back, not just in the amount of special ammo that they have, but also in how powerful they are, fusion rifles taking longer to charge up and shotguns getting less range. What I'm saying is, we might be entering into a bow meta. Even though the Luminarch is sort of the poster child of overpowered bows, expect to see maybe a little bit of increased usage from legendary bow quick swap combos. Something like a bow into an SMG is a great option. Bows aren't terrible at long range, you just need to be close to cover. Cover usage and general engagement positionings is going to be far more important. Currently, right now in Destiny, you'll see a lot of players kind of just beat their chest and run in because they can get away with it because of how powerful their special weapon really is. Even skilled snipers, which is why flinch continues to be an ongoing discussion point for balance within snipers, because you can kind of stand out in the open right now and still probably take a somewhat decent shot just because the TTKs are slower than your ability to click on a forehead. Cover usage and taking smart team shot engagement is going to spike significantly. But let's go down the list for each special weapon, as well as some things I think you could look out for. Shotgun players, just drop any type of rapid fire 2-shot type combos right now. Look at your shotgun as more of a cleanup tool, and if you're looking to go for more shotgun focused gameplay, slug shotguns are the way to go. They still are going to be incredibly powerful in the right hands. They can still one-shot headshot at further ranges, even though we're going to see some weird stuff with aim assist. We might have to see how it ends up getting felt out a little bit, and we're seeing a nerf to opening shot, which makes those slug shotguns feel so amazing at further ranges. Still, give slug shotguns a try. They're still a fantastic tool, even as a just cleanup tool. If you tag somebody in general, you might have some heavy success. Snipers, not a lot's going to change, but you're going to need to be a lot more picky about the shots that you take. Body shots are going to be far less important. Start aiming for the head, and we're also not going to see as much empowering rift or damage bonus one-shot body shot type builds, because all of the damage sources, the damage bonus sources that we're seeing, are being toned down from 20% to 15%, which means that it's very unlikely you're going to be able to get that one-shot body shot off on a target. Fusion rifle players, high impact fusions might be the way to go just because of how consistent they are, even though they are slower. You got to remember shotguns are being brought down as well. You might have a little bit more breathing room to actually get that higher impact shot off and get that kill. As a side note for the shotgun players, maybe consider switching over to a rapid fire fusion as a sort of in-between option for your shotgun needs. Grenade launchers, good news, you probably are going to see a lot more usage. Bad news, if it really is as bad as I think it might be, you're probably going to receive yet another nerf. For the weird people out there who are using special weapons that aren't quite special weapons, again, Forerunner, Arianas, stuff like that, this might be the best time ever to be that type of player, because your counters are going to be less dominant and primary weapon encounters are going to be even more dominant, which you are great at countering. Pulse rifles, high impact pulse rifles, are going to see a much higher rise as players aren't going to be as dominant in the close range spaces. They're going to pull back into the more long range spaces, which means things like bows, which already have good options for quick swap close quarter kills, are going to be great as a counter tool to them, because you can poke out, get a huge chunk of damage even on a body shot, take back into cover, get a little bit of health back, poke back out, and dare that pulse rifle user to get all of their crits. Hand cannons are going to be fine. You might see an uptick in sidearms and SMGs. Sidearms in particular are great at close quarters if you're consistent, especially if you're on console. I've heard that they are far better. You might see auto rifle crouch spammers as a sort of counter to pulse rifles, but we'll have to see. Scouts will always sort of be a little bit of a backbone. I don't think they're going to see more usage than something like a pulse rifle. But again, I could be completely wrong. I'm interested in seeing what you all have to say in the comments section, as every voice helps contribute to the overall conversation and paint a fuller picture. If you enjoy these types of discussions, please let me know with a subscribe and a like. Bless your faces and deuces.